Welcome to the sneak peek with our course, Microsoft Clarity, where we're going to dive into Lesson 2, Touring Microsoft Clarity, but this time we are going to dive into one of the favorite features of Microsoft Clarity, heat maps. Let's take a look. So I know I said filtering was my opinion, the best part of Microsoft Clarity. However, the heat maps and the recordings are, I believe, the super, super, super close second because it automatically records all the things. Not just recording as a video recordings, but heat map recordings. You don't have to tell it go make a heat map of this page. It is already doing the things you want it to do. It is already, getting the heat map. It's already understanding where the traffic's coming from. It's already gathering that data. It's already recording. And remember, heat maps, you have the data for 13 months and recordings is 30 days. So it's already getting that as long as you're kind of like, checking things out as they're happening. You'll be able to gather that information and do whatever it is you need to do to optimize from it. So we're going to click on this little down guy here, and we're going to actually go into data-driven U because they're going to have a little bit more traffic than us and be able to poke around in their heat maps a little bit more. And so we're looking at the last 3 days. And so let's go ahead and look at the last 30 days. And now we're going to see that with the last 30 days. And we still have this one that seems to have quite a bit of traffic there. Let's go see what's going on the homepage first. And so when you come into your heat map, it might take just a moment for it to kind of do its thing and load. That is a-okay. I'll probably give it, 30 seconds to a minute. And if it doesn't quite load, then you can go through and refresh as well. I am clearly sharing on Zoom and doing all these other things that might be making my device scream at me. So we're going to go ahead and refresh real quick. And sometimes changing it to the last shorter date range can help it load faster. And then you can go through like, okay, now that you got that out of the way, let's go to the last 7. Oh, and here we are. We're implementing the cookie consent. So we'll go back to the last 3 days so we have that guy out of the way. So what we can see here in our heat map, by default, we are looking at our desktop traffic. And we can see 123 page views for this device. And then we're looking at the clicks by default. And you can see all clicks, dead clicks, rage clicks. And so here, are there any rage clicks? We don't have any rage clicks. Are we having any dead clicks? Ooh, someone clicked on the blog, or maybe they didn't quite click on the blog. That's kind of interesting. That would be a dead click. And then obviously we have error, first click. What are people clicking on first? I would think the login, and which that would make sense. So something that took me a little bit longer to figure out, because I just didn't pay attention to it. I was kind of just working off of assumptions here. So I'm gonna tell you so you don't have the same kind of like learning curve that I did. So you see these numbers. I used to think like, oh, there's 10 clicks here, 8 clicks here for because that's, normal, heat mapping tools that we're used to. The number that we're seeing is the number of clicks. Guess what? That's not it. This number is the number one ranked by most clicks. So number one is the thing that got clicked on the most in the past 3 days of this 123 page views of the desktop. The first clicks were on here. If I go to all clicks, let's go here. This is where we can see what is this one. All clicks is still that. And then the second most clicks is the programs and then pricing options. And we could go through. That's what those numbers mean. And then clearly we have the little click heat map 2. If we switch over to mobile, we then can see the exact same thing, but for mobile. So then we have here, and then we have this. It's not visible here because it is technically part of the dropdown. So there is that little bit in piece, but you can see a little bit of lazy auto size 1. And then we have this little guy here. Show me what's inside. So we're kind of bouncing around the page. And then some people are clicking to go to the blog. So we have those type of clicks. Let's go back to our desktop and we could click on scroll as well. So here with our scroll, This is a home page, so we would expect a lot of people to be doing stuff around at the very top. So let's go ahead for scroll. We're going to get rid of this page and we're going to go ahead and go into this page here and we're going to give it just a moment. Ooh, we're going to refresh that. And there we go. See, sometimes it just needs a handy dandy refresh. And so here we are with our scroll data. Again, probably going to give it, 30 seconds or so to kind of get through all of its thinking. And again, we're looking at desktop, 190 page views. And this is also a little bit different than what you might see with other screen recordings or heat map type tools. So this is saying percent scrolled 5%. So 5% of the percent scroll, which would be, whatever 5% of the pages. And we're saying 90% of the visitors did that. So the drop off was, the inverted of this number. And then so 10%, how many people dropped off before 10? And so this is the way you can kind of read this. Again, a little bit different than what you've seen before, but it's really, really helpful once you know the numbers. So let's go down here. So this is the blog and we're kind of coming through. So people are still reading. Fantastic. Great job. And then we can kind of get to this point. So we have this is where about half of the traffic gets to. Let's pretend that we wanted to know, like, because we're going to come in here with a question that's going to make the most usefulness of it. Let's say the call to action for them to opt in or get some sort of thing was like, here it is, found it. Oh no, that's not it. Way down here at the bottom. So you could definitely get an idea of like, well, here's our, call to action here. We wanted to be able to make sure people are seeing it, but we're only 5% of the people are getting to this point, and that means it's only 8 people of almost 200. So we're losing that many people if we were to put the call to action here. But if we were to kind of sprinkle it throughout, we would probably get more eyeballs on that. You can go through and do your fancy math and be like, we could double the people eyeballs, we can quadruple the eyeballs, or whatever it is. So you can go through and do that. Now, the other super duper cool thing you could do with your heat maps, because we talked about obviously the desktop versus mobile, talk about click and scroll. We'll talk about area in just a moment, but I want to go through and compare. And so what you can do is compare this page, whether it be the same date range, same divide, blah, blah, all the things that you want to compare to, different segments. Like I want to compare Facebook ad traffic to Google, Google ad traffic, so many different things you can do with this. And so here we're looking at two different blocks. And so again, if content marketers, or maybe we're looking at two different sales pages, and I wanted to see, well, which one is doing better? And so we go through and kind of like, here's our 75% mark. Where's this one 75% mark? We're way down here. And so we can go through and kind of compare on that. So here we are on that. So you can go through and we can also, pro tip on here is zoom out on your monitor. And it's going to take just a second to kind of catch up. There it goes. You could zoom out on your monitor and it'll let you have a kind of a little bit higher level view. I'm actually going to do doot, doot. I'm going to give it a sec. And so that way you can kind of see things a little bit easier and compare things a little bit easier. And you can go through and compare again how many users are doing. Are they clicking? Are they, hey, they're clicking on this call to action, but they're not clicking on this call to action. So you can definitely go through and see that very easily and compare those with that. And we actually do this quite regularly with our clients where they have one user journey that converts incredibly well, and some other user journeys who are not quite up to par. It is a higher price point, but there are improvements that we can make to the sales page. And so that's what we do. We have them side by side. We can compare and all this other fun stuff too. We can have that. And then when they're in launch mode, one of the funny things when they're in launch mode and we're like, well, are they using sales page? Or are they doing this? And Clarity can tell us like they're not even looking at the sales page. They're just clicking on the call to action above the fold and buying. So that webinar must have, hit the mark. And so Clarity can also tell us like no one is really scrolling, but that's because they're coming in so freaking hot. They don't need the content of the sales page to help them buy. They just want to go buy. So Clarity can also help us answer those type of questions. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of our comparison by hitting this X. And we have our desktop. If we wanted to see how many tablet visitors we have, we apparently had one tablet visitor to this page. Super awesome. Thank you, Mr. Tablet Visitor. And then we can have, again, looking at it through mobile as well. One little side note for mobile, you might see, we're going to let it kind of load. You might see some kind of clicks and stuff that kind of happen onto the side. Um, but depending on how much, this is only 9 page view, so might not see that. But if you were to see them on the side, that's usually just people kind of, obviously using a touch screen to scroll. So don't worry too much about those there. And then kind of coming into let's go back to our desktop because it has more traffic. And let's go to our area, which is another common heat mapping tool. We don't use this one honestly as much, but I can definitely see how maybe for a design team or possibly content marketers, like what is it, which parts and pieces of the page are, getting the most clicks or what are they interacting? This is a blog, so it definitely, would be this. But let's go into our homepage again. And here's what the area stuff looks like. Ooh, come back. We're going to give it a sec to load. And because I'm impatient, I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And so this is what it looks like more on a home page. And so this is, again, let's double check, make sure our math works out. So we have 4 clicks, which is a 6.78 click through rate. So of the people that get through that come to this page, 6.78 are clicking through here, then here, then here. So this is kind of nifty. Again, if you want to compare maybe one sales page to a next, or one type of page to another. And so you can go through and kind of see this stuff, which is really nice and neat. And that is the area portion of the heat maps. And just a reminder, you have all of the super amazing features of your filtering inside for your heat maps and can apply that. Same thing with your segments. You can go through and build a segment. So go ahead and apply your filters and then create a segment, and you can apply that here as well. You can share a heat map. And this is honestly what we do with our client for their launches. If there's a dashboard involved, we then put this link, we go through and share with anyone. It's going to take a second sec, and you would change how long you want it to expire. Obviously the longest is 30 days currently. And so you would then copy this, and this is the link that I would use on the dashboard. I kind of make it look like a fun little button. And then we share that in the dashboard. And so that way, anyone who's on their dashboard, like their Facebook vendors, Google Ads vendors, or anyone like their traffic teams, they can go through and see what's going on with the heat map. And we have educated them like, hey, if you need to go ahead and create a filter or whatever it is, go ahead and do that, so you can see that. Or if you need us to, create you a segment or something, just let us know. We can help you out. So that way the client can come through and see the heat maps in real, kind of not real-ish time, but close enough where as the traffic's coming through, they're watching this stuff throughout the night and all these things. They can make adjustments if needed, like, hey, no one's scrolling, no one's clicking on this, or all this other stuff. So that is a great way for sharing. You can share an email and all that. It is not an automated thing where like, hey, every week send them this, but that's nice there. And you have this option to clear all your filters. We already kind of mentioned you can kind of remove your little X's on there, but you could also, hey, clear all that. But let's go back to this here. You can go through and this here, select another screenshot. Remember when we were clicking on the last 7 days, and all of a sudden it gave us this, the cookie consent thing. And I was like, let's change the screenshot. So we can choose another screenshot if we want to, like, hey, let's choose that one. And so you can go through and do that if we need to, which is great for sometimes when those pop-ups get in the way. And guess what we can also do? We can also go through and summarize our heat maps. Remember, when you summarize your recordings, you have the option of either the top 10 or the customize where you can choose which ones. The heat maps, we don't have the option to choose, but you could go through and do all your filtering. Like, I want to see the people that are rage clicks or have the in JavaScript errors or only this traffic or, blah, 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 all the things. You can go through and then summarize with that. So you can kind of make sure you're summarizing the things that you want. And so you can go through and see these are the things that it is telling us. Users on tablet or mobile devices were less likely to scroll down the page and more likely to interact with multiple blah, 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 which I think was the consent thing. And then to showcase the value proposition and benefits of joining the data-driven insiders, which is interesting. It got the product name right. The website could use more engaging and clickable elements above the fold section, such as buttons, icons, or testimonials. So I don't know about you, but there's a crap ton of buttons and and things like that above the fold. So that one's going to take a little bit, and this is a homepage, so it's not really meant to do the selling and things, just kind of more of like a directory. So that's okay. And then you can go through and kind of see. Um, so you should avoid using dead or unresponsive elements such as the main headline, your path to becoming a top some percent marketer in the data. So that's interesting. It's saying, it sounds like it's trying to say that people are clicking on that. So I'm going to come over to our click map. And so it's telling me that people are clicking on that. And then if I hover over different elements part of this, we're getting more people that are clicking on that. So that's kind of interesting. So I'm actually going to be able to take this to um, the marketing team and be like, hey guys, just so you know, and honestly, it could be a pop-up too. There could be a pop-up in the way, and they could be just excessively clicking on that. So we can, take a look into this. What we would probably do is see like, is this only on PC? Is this only on, I assume it's only on desktop because that's what we're looking at right now, but we can go through and see is that an issue because that is kind of interesting. And is this also a long-term thing? Is this just because maybe we had a certain kind of traffic? Let's go through and check and see if this was happening consistently. And there you go. So you can kind of see what your heat map summaries are with that. And that is your heat maps. If you enjoyed this and need more about Microsoft Clarity or anything else measurement related, make sure you check out the Measurement Marketing Academy at measure.tips/getacademy or click on the link below to find out more and see if this is the right tool to help you really grow that measurement muscle. We'll see you next time.